Hello. I never thought a damn Hunter air purifier would be the thing that destroyed my marriage. But last night, it caught my wife of 17 years cheating on me. It all started when I updated the filter using the app on her phone, because mine was charging by the door. I noticed she had switched her phone to a pattern unlock, which was odd. We never kept secrets, so why now? As I opened the app, a Snapchat notification popped up. My eyes caught the message, "I'll bring this special toy." I froze. My stomach flipped. That simple line shattered everything I thought I knew about my wife. It was so out of the blue, so shocking, that my mind just stalled. She looked at me and asked, "What's wrong?" But I couldn't even respond. To give some background, we've been together for 17 years, raising her two daughters from a previous marriage, now 28 and 23. We never had any kids of our own, but I helped raise those girls as if they were mine. Our marriage always felt solid. Sure, we had minor bumps, nothing serious. I believed we communicated well, whether it was about work, sex, or just life. We'd sit on the couch and talk for hours. I felt like we were connected, and our sex life was still strong. We both took care of ourselves and stayed in shape. For the last 5 months, I've been pulling overtime at the hospital. She works in legal consultancy and has been home a lot more. We felt a little distant because of our schedules, but I thought we made it work. We still had good days off together. But then that message, "I'll bring this special toy," ripped through all of that. It was like my world collapsed in an instant. I sat there, staring at that notification, trying to pull myself out of the fog in my brain. Seconds passed, maybe minutes. My wife, the woman I've been with for nearly 2 decades, was sitting right there, completely unaware that I had just seen the first crack in our life together. I finally snapped out of it, muttering something about needing information for the fan's connection to the app. She didn't seem to notice how off I was. I handed the phone back to her and tried to act normal, but my mind was racing. I was in shock, angry, confused, just a swirl of emotions pounding through me all at once. Now, let me be clear. I've read plenty of stories about cheating. I've seen all the warning signs spelled out in threads on Reddit, but I never thought I'd be that guy. The one who finds out in the dumbest way possible. Sitting there, in the bedroom I built for us, using a filter app for God's sake. For the rest of the night, I barely said a word. She acted completely normal, not a hint of guilt on her face. The thing is, she's got one of those quarterly work trips coming up, out of town for 5 days. She leaves on Monday, but now I know what it is really about. I could not sleep. I lay there, my mind running wild, so I took action. I called into work and explained to my boss what I suspected. Thankfully, she is understanding. She gave me a week off. That is when I got access to her Verizon messaging system. And that is when the full horror hit me. I spent the entire night reading through thousands of messages. By the time she left for work the next morning, I had already uncovered the full extent of her betrayal. Over 15,000 messages, thousands of memes, flirty texts, and more X-rated photos than I could stomach. The affair went all the way back to February of last year. Almost 2 years of my life, wasted. I found out who he was, a younger guy from her office. Married. 3 kids. I had shaken this guy's hand twice at company events, clueless about what was going on behind my back. It was disgusting. But that was not the worst part. The worst part was discovering that she had been lying right beside me, sending him dirty messages while I was asleep. She would be in bed next to me, her hand resting on my back, and with the other hand, she would be sexting this guy. I logged into her Snapchat, and there it all was. There were pictures, videos, stuff I wish I could unsee. It was not just texting. It was real, physical. They had met up during her work trips, staying in hotels, sending each other explicit messages, arranging meetups. It made me sick. I called my best friend, Mike. He has been through 3 divorces himself. He is basically an expert by now. He did not sugarcoat it. Get a lawyer. And get one fast. So, that is what I did. I called one of the best attorneys in town and scheduled an emergency appointment. The whole time, I was running on pure adrenaline. I had not slept. My hands were shaking, and all I could think about was the betrayal. I spent the rest of that day collecting evidence. I made sure her Google location history was turned on, tracked her phone, and logged into every account I could find. I was not going to confront her just yet. I wanted to be smart about it. I needed all the proof I could get. When she left for the office, I took out my Chromebook. She had logged into Facebook the night before, so I still had access. I found everything: her chat history, photos, even some deleted messages that had been archived. It was like a punch to the gut. Seeing it all laid out like that made it real in a way that I still wasn't prepared for. There was no way she could deny it. I had all the screenshots, the photos, and the chats. Every dirty message. Every sick comment about me behind my back, about my insecurities, about our sex life. She even told him she loved him. I felt this white-hot rage building inside me. I had built our life together. I had raised her kids, helped put them through school, bought her the house she wanted. And she was throwing it all away for this guy. Some pot-bellied married dude with 3 kids of his own. That was when I decided to destroy her. I called the lawyer and set up an emergency meeting to jump the line. I planned to take action, and quickly. My friend had suggested serving her divorce papers as soon as possible, but part of me wanted to catch her in the act. So, I put a new plan in motion. I would follow her to the next hotel she stayed at, catch her, and confront her there. I had access to her hotel reservations, so I could get a key to her room without her knowing. I wanted her to feel the shock I was feeling. I wanted her to suffer. Monday rolled around, and I put my plan into motion. I booked a flight to the same city she was headed to for her business trip. I had everything lined up: her hotel reservation, access to her messages, and all the evidence. I would land just a few hours after she did, get a room key without her knowing, and wait for the right moment. I logged into her Snapchat while sitting at the airport. The messages were still coming in hot and heavy. They were planning to meet that night, and he was bringing the special toy she had talked about in that first message. It was so clear now that this affair was purely sexual. They had not made any long-term plans, no talk about running off together. That almost made it worse. She was throwing away our life for cheap thrills. As I boarded the plane, I felt this surreal calm wash over me. It was like I was outside my own body, just watching everything unfold. I could see how insane this all was, but at the same time, it felt like the only thing I could do. The plan was simple. I would wait until they were together in the hotel room, then I would confront them both. I had all the messages, all the photos printed out. I even had a packet ready to send to his wife. I added myself as a contact on her hotel reservation, so I could easily get access to her room. But part of me was still debating whether I should even bother confronting her. I could just drop the packet of evidence on her bed with my wedding ring and walk away. Let them deal with the fallout. I wanted to hurt her the way she had hurt me, but I also felt drained, emotionally spent. I landed that afternoon, and the countdown to destruction began. I checked into her room just down the hall from hers, acting casual as I spoke to the front desk. They gave me the key without any suspicion. I sat in my room, staring at my phone, waiting for the moment. The hours crawled by. Each minute felt like an eternity, but I had everything prepared. Printed out pages of their dirty messages, a folder packed with evidence, and the cruelest note I could think of. The plan was simple. Get into her room, leave the packet on the bed with my wedding ring, then sit downstairs at the bar and wait for the explosion. Around 8 p.m., my phone lit up with a fresh round of Snapchat messages. He was on his way, and she was giddy like a teenager. "I can't wait to see you," she wrote. "Got the toy ready." I wanted to throw my phone across the room, but instead, I pocketed it and headed toward her room. My heart was pounding as I slid the key into the door. It clicked open without a hitch. Inside, the room looked just like every other sterile hotel room, but now it felt like a crime scene. I dropped the folder onto the bed and placed my wedding ring on top. Then, I turned on my heel and walked out. No grand confrontation. No shouting or screaming. I was saving that for later. Downstairs, I found a spot at the bar, ordered a drink, and watched my phone. Any minute now, the messages would start coming in. I had sent a certified package to his wife, too. Everything laid bare. The final blow. It was not long before my phone lit up. First, it was my wife. Then, the guy. I let it ring. The bartender must have noticed my face, because he gave me a knowing nod and topped off my glass. I just stared at the phone, waiting for the real chaos to begin. The phone kept ringing. First, my wife. Then, her affair partner. I ignored every call, watching as the texts poured in, one after another. My wife's messages started desperate. Where are you? What is this? Please, we need to talk. Then they shifted. You do not understand. It was never serious. Each one felt like a punch to the gut, but I kept reading. She tried to explain, to justify the last 18 months of betrayal. It was laughable. Then her affair partner called again, and I decided to pick up. Hey, he said, his voice low and shaky. We need to talk, man. Yeah, I said. We do. Meet me in the lobby. Bring her. I could hear the panic in his voice. He knew I had the upper hand. He tried to plead with me, to calm things down, but I hung up before he could get too far. I wanted him sweating, just like I had been. I sat there in the bar, my hand tight around the glass. My heart was pounding, but I kept my face still, waiting. I had already sent everything to his wife, so by the time he met me, it would be over. His marriage would be in shambles, just like mine. When they finally walked into the lobby, they looked like ghosts. My wife was pale, her eyes wide, like a deer caught in headlights. He was sweating, looking around like he was hoping for a way out. I stood up and walked toward them, feeling that cold rage burning inside. I sent everything to your wife, I said, staring at him. She knows. His face dropped, and my wife started crying. I handed them both the printed evidence, every filthy message, every photo. I hope it was worth it, I said, my voice flat, cold. They stood there, stunned, flipping through the pages of their dirty little secrets. My wife's hands were shaking, tears streaming down her face. She tried to speak, but no words came out, just sobs. I felt nothing. No pity, no sympathy. Just a hollow, cold anger. He tried to say something. Listen, man, we didn't mean for this to happen. But I cut him off before he could finish. You didn't mean for what? I snapped. You didn't mean to sneak around behind my back for nearly 2 years? Didn't mean to destroy 2 families? I could see the fear in his eyes now. He knew this was over for him too. His wife had probably already gotten the package. I imagined the scene at his house. Her reading through the same messages, her world falling apart just like mine had. Here's the thing, I said, keeping my voice steady. I'm not looking for an apology. I don't want excuses. You two made your bed, and now you can lie in it. I turned to my wife. Her face was red, and her mascara was running. You knew cheating was a deal breaker for me, I said, my voice calm but cold. You threw away everything for him. For what? Sex? A cheap thrill? She could barely breathe through her sobs, but I wasn't done. You should know. I'm filing for divorce, I said, and I've already told the girls. They know everything. At that, she completely broke down, sinking to the floor. She begged, please, no, don't tell them. It wasn't supposed to go this far. But I didn't care. She had made her choices. I turned my back on both of them and walked away, leaving them standing there in their shame. I walked out of that hotel lobby feeling lighter, but the anger still burned. As I made my way back to the bar, I thought about everything, every lie, every moment she had stolen from me. I had been a good husband. I had given her everything, and this was how she repaid me? Back at the bar, I ordered another drink and sat in silence, letting the reality sink in. My phone buzzed, and I saw a message from the lawyer. The divorce papers were ready. It was happening. My marriage, the life I had built, was about to officially end. I should have felt something, sadness, regret, anything, but all I felt was numb. The bartender brought me another drink without me even asking. Rough day? He asked, giving me a sympathetic nod. I just nodded back, too exhausted to explain. What was there to say? That my wife had been cheating on me for nearly 2 years, and I had just handed her the destruction of her life in a neat little folder? That I had ruined a man's marriage with a single phone call? I stayed at the bar for a few hours, nursing my drink and watching my phone light up with more messages from her. Apologies, begging, desperate attempts to make things right. But nothing she said could fix what she had broken. Eventually, I got up, left the bar, and walked back to my room. I lay on the bed, staring at the ceiling, wondering what my life would look like now. I had spent 17 years building a future with her, and now it was gone. And in the middle of the night, as I finally started to drift off, one thought kept circling in my head. What comes next? The next morning, I woke up feeling like I had been hit by a truck. The events of the past few days crashed down on me all at once, and for a second, I thought it might have been a bad dream. But the empty space next to me in bed reminded me it was all real. She was gone. I dragged myself out of bed and checked my phone. There were more messages, long, emotional ones from her, apologizing, explaining, begging for forgiveness. They all sounded the same after a while. I skimmed them without really reading, knowing none of it mattered anymore. I had a therapy appointment lined up later that day. It was something I should have done years ago, maybe. My therapist would help me sort through the mess, but the truth was, I felt lost. The life I had known for nearly 2 decades had crumbled in a matter of days. My wife was gone, my marriage was over, and I had no idea where to go from here. I sat in the kitchen, staring at my phone. Should I respond? Should I tell her how much she had hurt me, how broken I felt? Or should I just disappear, leave it all behind, and start fresh somewhere far away? In the end, I decided to do neither. I called my lawyer instead. We finalized the next steps for the divorce, and she reassured me that I was on the right path. There was no turning back now. As I hung up, I felt a strange sense of calm. For the first time in days, I knew exactly what I needed to do. I was going to rebuild. Not for her, not for anyone else, just for me. The pain was still there, gnawing at me, but it no longer controlled me. And as I packed up a few of my things, getting ready to leave that hotel and walk into a new chapter of my life, I realized that maybe, just maybe, I was going to be okay after all. Bye-bye.